All right, so let's talk about drum processing and the power of doing just a little bit at a time and having that stuff add up over time. So I've got this drum part here. This is what it sounds like at the end of the day. Very stomp clappy, marchy snare kind of idea. I'm using sample drums, so I don't have a lot going on these tracks. If you'll take a look, a lot of these are just like pulling out low end and like attenuating the highs a little bit. On my shakers, I've got a bit of distortion happening and really just like pulling out a lot of the low end because I don't need it. But on the main drum sounds, there's really nothing going on in terms of processing, just because I like the sounds the way they are. But if you come over to my drum bus over here, which is here, I'm doing a couple like really subtle moves with EQ, distortion, and compression that are making a big difference without making the drums any louder. I'll show you what I mean by that. Here we've got just an EQ Pro Q3, pulling out a little bit of like the really sub lows, a little bit of boxiness, and a little bit of harshness on the high end. That was like a bit of a build up thing. If you take a listen to what each of these is doing. Just the really sub lows there. Just some boxiness around 500. And then some like hissy build up stuff that I wasn't really liking. And this stuff you just sort of hear, and then you do a tiny bit of searching around to see where that frequency is. After that, I've got this black box mid-side processor. It's a distortion box. This thing is great. My parallel mix is about 2/3. The output is turned down just to match the gain. But here's what that is doing more or less. So it's just kind of about immediacy, sort of bringing the drums forward a little bit and making them a little bit more exciting. Clearly, I felt like I wasn't done with the distortion on these drums. This is coming in really quite low on the mix knob, but quite high on the drive setting. So if I turn this up all the way, you'll really hear the difference. So all the way up, that's really kind of harsh and ugly sounding, but if you bring that mix knob down, it just kind of blends in a nice distortion sound on those drums. And lastly here, I've got the Fairchild 670. This is coming from UAD. Again, this is pretty subtle. I think the most it's hitting is probably like 3 or 4 dB of compression. Kick is mostly being left alone with this sidechain filter down here on the left. And we can take a listen to what that's doing. Again, super subtle, but it's all about small moves for me and sort of doing a little bit at a time to make sure that you're not like overusing one of these plugins to get like a crazy distortion sound and ruining the sound that you liked in the first place. I've got all that going to this UAD Sound City Studios. It's just like a drum room setting, and this is kind of what that sounds like on its own. Turn that up so you can hear it. So it's just a drum room sound. This is a really great plugin. And that's just kind of kept buried. Not buried, but what you would do with a room anyways. And here's the drums with and without all that processing. If I mute out all these plugins, and I want to take a look at the meter here as well. So not getting any louder. If you looked at the meter, it's not hitting that meter any harder. Actually, it might be hitting the meter a little bit less, but the drums are so much more forward, more exciting, more active, and just sort of hitting a bit harder without turning them up and making it crazy loud. So that's just a little bit of what I do with my drum bus.